Happy Wednesday, March 11th. Things we're going to talk about. We're going to finish out our Olympian stuff in a moment. Quiz coming up on Friday. To give you a quick heads up on that, it is a bigger quiz. It is a 15-question quiz as opposed to our normal 12-question quiz. The reason why it is a bigger quiz is it covers everything connected to the Olympians. How many thrones on Mount Olympus?
12.
How many gods give up thrones?
2.
So they're also on quiz. That's 12 plus 2. Plus one god who is the father of a bunch of them and helped create the thrones. And that would be? That's your 15. So if you were to look this way at these posters, these are your 15 answers. Starting at Cronus, going in this direction, each one of those gods is going to be one of your answers. So that'll help you out somewhat on it. As far as the questions go, they're going to be connected back to all of these stories that we've been doing. They're not going to come just straight from it. It's going to require you to go back and remember what happened in the stories and stuff like that. So for most of you, hopefully it should be a pretty easy quiz as long as you've been paying attention. We'll see how it goes. If you're missing any late work, you have until Friday. Again, several kids missing the Ebola thing, which closes tonight. And then if you're going to redo your essay, we're going to talk about that in a moment. You have until Friday. Book report Friday. Camp Tecumseh, we covered that for you guys. Glow party tickets. Again, you have Friday. We're going to have that one. Apparently Friday is a big day. Blizz.
So instead of sitting on top of it, can I sit on the desk behind it?
You could, but then I'd probably charge you points during class. Because that would not be standing. I don't know, by 3, that'd make you stand. It's not like a 3 and you get to it. It's like a 3 and I notice you. Xavier.
Didn't you say that you're not going to cover up any of the posters for the tests?
Yeah, correct.
Yay.
Okay. Humphrey.
I think a picture of that.
That's fine. No problem with that. If it helps, I'm sending it out on a remind tonight. I mean,
I don't look at mine.
so that
I don't
to
look
each
at
our
mine
own.
either.
All right. For those of you who are at home, if you have your essay, this is what you get a chance to look at. I'm doing the quick explanation thing of your essay. For those of you who are sitting here now, if you want to look at essay, I'm going to walk you through the whole how to fix it thing if you want to. The fixing of it, you have 2 options. You can either handwrite it on a piece of notebook paper and then turn it in to me, or you can type it and email it to me. Either way you go, I have to have this original one back, the one that I just gave to you. So don't get rid of that. That is how you get to turn it back into me. So if you wad it up and then burn it, you can't redo it. Because I want to be able to see that, to see what has changed and improved. I did not write on your actual essay. I just wrote on the grading sheet. So if you want to know what you messed up, you need to look at your essay now as I walk you through it. And you can figure out where you messed things up. If you want to redo it, you cannot get higher than a 29. So if you got a 30, 31, or 32 on your essay, you've already maxed out your points. If you've got a 29, you could technically, I guess, redo it and get up to 30 points. But anything below like 29 and lower, that's completely up to you if you are wanting to redo it. If you're happy with your grade, I'm happy for you. I'm okay with that. All right, on your introduction, if you look at your introduction, if you have an introduction and it makes sense, you got 2 out of 4 points. If your introduction mentioned the stories, homeless man, and then talked about the teacher, you got 3 out of the 4 points. If your introduction mentioned the 2 stories and mentioned the traits they have, you got 4 out of 4 points. So you can take a look at yours to figure out why you either have the 4 out of 4 or a lower grade. For these 2, I'm going to tell you about the same thing for both because I graded them both the same way. If you got a 4 out of 8 or lower, it is because you did not talk about the trait. You had to talk about the making better choices, the raising someone up, keeping your agreements, and you had to tell me how they did it. So you would say the teacher was trying to do trait number 3, raising someone up, and they did that and you have to go through and explain it. Some of you just randomly said a thing, and you just said, the homeless man made good choices, period. Yay! That's not going through and explaining what happened. That was you just randomly saying a thing that happened to connect to it. The better you did, the higher points you got. If you got, say, I think it was like a 5 to 6 out of the 8 points, that means you mentioned the trait You just probably didn't go into quite enough detail. If you got a 7 out of 8, that means you did pretty much everything good. It was just part of your writing was a little bit off. That threw me when I read it. It's the drawback to English. Sometimes it's just your writing style that can cost you a point. And that covers both of those. You said then switch to the other one. Conclusion. Same thing as your introduction. For writing a conclusion that made sense, you got 2 out of 4 points. If you mentioned the stories, you got 3 out of 4. If you mentioned the stories and the traits they had, you got 4 out of 4. That's what I was looking for on each one. That was it. Questions as far as the essay, redoing it, what you did, making them better, stuff like that. Yay! Then again, you have till Friday to redo it. That is completely up to you. I will send out this on a remind later to try and help you. And then you can skip that away. Don't open your notebook yet. This is going to be activated tomorrow. My goal as of now is it is going to be active and open tomorrow through Friday after school. So it's a little bit longer than 24 hours. But I figured by 7th period kids tomorrow, they're not going to find out about it until the end of the day. So it's not going to be a perfect 24 hours. But I'm going to open it up tomorrow morning with first period. And I'm going to close it Friday at the end of the day. You get one shot at doing this correctly. If you have to resubmit it, it's going to cost you B points. So make sure you do it correctly the first time. Everybody has to resubmit. I deleted everybody's thing on there. So if you are wanting to have a friend at camp, you're going to have to submit it tomorrow or Friday at some point. If you don't submit it, then you are not going to have a chance of getting your friend. I'm going to have to just randomly put you into a group. Stephanie.
So when you're doing it, so you can't put numbers by their name. So like 1.
Correct. That would be bad.
Okay.
Because it says in the directions, this is person number 1. So you just put their name. And the next one, you go to the next question. It says this is person number 2. So I already know they're the second one because it puts it in the second column.
Okay.
Yes.
So are we not allowed to put like commas between your last name and first name?
You can do like
Okay.
this is fine. They did first name, comma, last name. That doesn't make sense. This part's good. Conrad, comma, Gavin. That part followed directions. So yes, I have no problem if you do just like here, right space Malia. I'm fine with that one. Tran, comma, Kaylee. I'm fine with that one too. Both of those do not mess up my sorting and filters and stuff like that. Either one of those works. We're good to go on this one. Yay. Then let's get to talking about issues. So here, don't open up notebook. I want to see how well you remember all of this. How far did we get with you guys yesterday?
To the 9th one.
Aphrodite.
So did we get through Aphrodite?
Kinda.
Did we get to her hand sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have not gotten to Athena.
We have not.
All right. Athena's fast and easy, so it's not a major issue. So my goal, and the reason why your notebook is not open, and I keep saying don't have your notebook open, is that we're going to practice doing these. Because if we can get through this, my goal is to have one of you, hopefully at the end of class today, get a chance to stand up, go through and do it, and get your 5 B points.
Yay.
So we're going to try and do it with you here in a moment. So, let's practice. Here's where you're going to want to try doing our little hand signs with us. I know they're horrifyingly embarrassing, but one, I'm going to tell you now, after we finished it, I am going to post a TikTok of me doing all the dances to a song, and we're going to see if we can try to get it trending. It's going to be the best thing ever. I haven't figured out what song I want to do it to yet, but it's coming. I just have to feel inspired. All right. First god to get a throne is?
Zeus.
What do you say for Zeus?
King of all gods.
And then you're not going to tell me the hand motion. You're going to show me the hand motion. Hence, handy motion thing. Good job not turning a kid into a unicorn. Next god to get thrown? For her, you say?
Queen of all gods.
Hand motion? There you go, my little mooses. Nice it up. Next one to get thrown? And for him, we say? Hand motion. Or any of your different interpretations, whatever they might. Our next one to get a throne is?
Hades.
And I keep stressing that because Friday's quiz, Hades is going to be on there. So I want to make sure you don't forget that. Now, the question for Hades, I don't remember off the top of my head. Let's go something along the lines of, this past Olympian is Zeus's only brother to not have a throne on a mountain, and he loves shadows. So if you could figure out from those clues, then you would figure out it was going to be Hades. Just trying to help you guys. All right. Our next one to get a throne and keep it would be
Demeter.
scary. And for Demeter, we say
God of grain.
Out of grains and harvest.
our hand sign for that one. Don't act like you don't know. I know you've been practicing all weekend. That's one of the ones. Yeah, that's right. After Demeter, our next two are going to be Hephaestus
And Aries.
and Aries. For Hephaestus,
God of
I got too eager. Our hand sign on that one. I'm more of a two-handed hammer person. So you guys are just winging your hammers around.
Yeah, there you go.
For Aries, what do we say for him?
God of trash.
Wow, seems a little specific.
What's
And then
Spartan's
again,
dance?
throat, face. It's the bestest. And then our next two after Aries,
Artemis.
for Artemis, what do you say?
God of
And hand sign. Nicely done. For Apollo,
God of the sun. God of handsomeness.
and the hand sign on. There you go. The whole nicely done. Again, you should try to contain your hand wiggling, so you're not trying to you're not trying to collect like all your way to you, and you're not like off your medication. Or just-
I have a question.
Yes.
If this does babies, then what does this do?
Questions you should not ask. After Apollo, our next one's going to be.
Aphrodite.
And what do we say for her?
She's the one that loves things.
As a team, we kind of got that one. God of love and beauty. And then for her, there you go. That's where you're throwing your gang signs. Whatever your particular gang signs might be. I don't know what you kids are throwing on the street nowadays. Now you can open up notebook and we'll get to our last ones for today.
Some alliteration to the letter
Our next one to get a throne, we should already know. We've talked about her before. And that's where Athena comes in. And with Athena, we already know it. She's the god of. We're going to focus. Forget the kids at home have to be able to see the screen. We'll go to the side. God of wisdom, and we'll focus on knowing she's god of war is good, but it's more the god of wisdom we're going to focus on for the most part. So you have Athena, god of wisdom. For the hand sign for her, it's easy. We can combine two things in one. What she's the god of and where she was born from. Same thing for both. Scary watching what you guys come up with, but yes. I was just doing the simple thing. I guess you could do the TikTok version. Yes, I'm familiar with that one also. I'm not going to judge too much, maybe a little bit. Then, quick time out, because I have kids who've asked this question. Up here above where Abby is on Apollo, it says Phoebus in front of Apollo. In Greek, Phoebus means shiny. And every once in a while, sometimes they would call him that. I did not know it when I first saw it, so I had to go look it up and use this magic googly thing. And it told me that the Phoebus, well, you can probably figure it out. Why would they call him Shiny Apollo?
He's hot, and he's the sun person.
Sun god. It was more the sun god part of it than anything else. Xavier?
Palace means smart.
Palace in Greek mythology is not a Greek word. Turns out Pallas, I had to look that one up also, was a human who was a friend of hers. And he and Athena would go off and fight in battles together all the time. And apparently he was a very impressive fighter and very honorable. But during one of their battles together, he got stabbed and died. And as he lay dying, Athena claimed that he would live forever through her. So she said, I will forever be known as Pallas Athena, and I will wear your name with honor. And so she started calling herself towards later mythology Pallas Athena, referring to the fact that her friend had died, but he was the most honorable human she'd ever known, so she took on his name.
Well, that's just sad.
It is. The other one I'm going to get to is on this poster, because that seems to confuse people behind it. So those of you at home, you can see it there. I have X on here, which seems to confuse the children. The reason X is on there, not because it's naughty, but it goes back to Aphrodite, and there's more than one version, like for all of these, how she was born, and that is a rare one that I've never really seen except here, and I had to go Google it. It is a version of Aphrodite that has her being the child of Zeus and him being with his Titan, but it was a rare random story. I'm assuming they only put it on here so they would connect back to Zeus, because this poster really seems to like Zeus. But I tried to tell kids, ignore that one when it comes time for quizzes and tests. But kids would still get distracted, and they'd write that down for answers. So I got frustrated, so I crossed it out. Kids still kept doing it, so I put a giant X over it, and then tried to tape over it. But now when kids see the X, they're like, ooh, what's up with the naughty one? It's not naughty. I'm just trying to prevent kids from writing that answer down. But no matter what, I kids are like, you should cut it out. I could, and then kids would just be like, why is it cut out? So no matter what I do, there's no easy solution to it. So I figured I'd just explain it to you from there. Ooh. Next question. At this point, how many thrones does Zeus have left to fill in?
2.
One.
Because
If it was an easy question, I wouldn't be asking it. Because who still has a throne?
Hestia.
Oh, I see.
Hestia is still up there. So at this point, Zeus only has one more throne to fill. Which brings us to today's first story.
Hermes.
Sorry, crunch on my
Cough
coffee.
drop. He's sick, guys. Be considerate.
Guys, he has the coronavirus, okay?
I like.
Eat it?
It's really hard to talk with it because I kept like going down my throat and I didn't want to die in front of you, especially on camera. All right.
You know how many views?
So, with our, except it's kind of hard to post it when you're dead.
I can.
So now Zeus, he's trying to make good choices at this point. And so he's like, all right, no more being friendly with Titans, because that tends to make my wife unhappy. So I'm going to try to avoid that for the time being. But then one day, he's going through the woods, and he stumbles across a girl in the woods. But it turns out this girl is not a Titan. She's what's called a nymph. And in Greek mythology, a nymph was sort of like our version of elves. They had wood nymphs, and they had water nymphs. And they were just elves that either lived in the woods, or elves that lived out in the water. And going through the woods, Zeus just doing his thing, and he sees this girl, and he's like, whoa! You're attractive, and I don't recognize you. Are you a Titan? And she's like, no, I'm a nymph. And he's like, a nymph? That's not a Titan. How you doing? And he introduces himself. And turns out that her name is Maya, M-A-I-A. And he's like, my name is Zeus. And she's like, I know who you are. And he's like, hey, I think as attractive as you are, and me being Zeus, that you and I should be friendly. And she's like, okay. And they get together, and they're friendly. Well, it turns out, right after they're friendly, she gets pregnant. Like, that same day. So, that same day, she tells Zeus, hey, you know how we were friendly? And he's like, yeah. She's like, I'm pregnant. He's like, what? So it turns out that when Titans and nymphs commingle, the genetics are a little bit different. And she got pregnant immediately. Zeus goes, oh, kind of worried about my whole wife trying to kill you thing. So I think we should be safe. Let's keep this whole you being pregnant thing on the down low. And she's like, but I'm getting pregnanter. And he looks at her, and she is. Whoop, the belly's even bigger. He's like, we definitely need to hide you really soon. So he goes and finds a cave on the side of a mountain. He's like, you need to just hide in this cave and not come out for like a while, and then I'll come back and check on you. Is that okay? And she's like, that's okay. I'm pregnanter. And he looks at her like, and she's even more pregnant. He's like, I'm out of here. And he takes off running. That evening, she gives birth. Quite the exhausting day for her. And she gives birth to a little baby who she names Hermes. It's going to be a while. And little baby Hermes is our first child with ADHD. As soon as he pops out, he has trouble sitting still. He's like, ooh, how you doing, Mommy? She's like, you can talk. He's like, it's a cave. She's like, you can talk. He's like, look, rocks. And he just starts like starting like, rock, 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 wall, what's going on? And it wears her out. So she goes and makes a little bed for him, like a puppy. She like takes a big pile of clothing and like puts the clothing. And she's like, you need to lay down. He's like, okay, Mommy. And he lays down in a little bed of clothes. And she's like, I'm going to lay down and take a nap. Also, it's been an exhausting couple of hours. She lays down to fall asleep. That night, he wakes back up, tries to wake up his mom, but she is dead asleep. And he's like, oh, I'm bored. What am I gonna? Ooh, look, outdoors. And out he goes and just leaves the cave and starts wandering around the nearby forest. You know, as little babies do. And as he's wandering around this nearby forest, he starts seeing a weird glow coming from the forest. And he's like, is that the moon? But the moon is in the ground. And as he keeps going, he finds this big open area. In this huge open area, there's a whole herd of cows. And they're all mooing at each other. Moo, 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 moo. And glowing in the dark. And he's like, ooh, glow in the dark moo-moos, as any child would. And he goes up there and decides that he is going to take these moo-moo cows for himself. So he decides he's going to bring all of these cows back up to the cave. So he goes around and picks up a stick and then goes and starts slapping the moo-moo cows in the butt. He's like, pokey, 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 and brings all of these cows through the woods, back up the side of a mountain, into the cave where he was hanging out with his mom. And he tells all the cows to be quiet going past his mom. He's like, hush, cows. And they're like, moo. He's like, hush. And like, moo. And he gets them all into the very back part of the cave. He's like, oh, that was exhausting, but a lot of fun. Uh-oh. And he realizes, anytime you were to get a great gift, you were supposed to sacrifice part of that gift to the gods as a thank you. And he realized he just got this big pile of cows. He's not sacrificing anything to the gods. He's like, what do I have to sacrifice? Moo-moos. So he goes over and grabs a cow and drags the cow out front. He's like, moo, 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 into the cows, like outside the little cave area. And then he pulls out his dagger that, every child keeps. Safety first. Pulls out his little dagger and sacrifices the cow. Moo, 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 moo. And sacrifices this cow up to the gods, makes a pile of little cow guts off to the side, covered in cow blood. And he's like, I'm tired. So now he waddles back over to his little pile of clothing, falls down, and goes to sleep. Hours later, middle of the night, Apollo's walking through the woods trying to find his sacred cows. Turns out Apollo had been collecting these cows for a long time. It was his hobby. Who doesn't collect cows as a hobby? And because he was the sun god, his radiation from driving the sun chariot would absorb into the cows, which is what made them glow in the dark. And he found it fascinating. He finds the big open area, and it's empty. No cows. He's hysterical with anger. He's like, what's going on? Where are my moo-moo cows? And starts running around, and then he finds a path of all these moo-moo cows leading out of the area. So he follows them. Encounters a few people along the way, other random nymphs, a couple of humans. And he's like, hey, have you seen my cows? Like, we have. He's like, where'd they go? They're like, they went that way. He's like, did you see who they were with? I'm like, a small baby child. He's like, no, really? Who took my cows? I'm like, no, really? It was a small baby with a knife in one hand and a stick in the other, and it was just poking the cows in the butt. And he was like, someone's got the coronavirus. And so because of that, he goes and keeps following all of these things until he finds a big cave in the side of the mountain, sees the little trail leading up to it, goes into the cave, and sees one of his cows in pieces, shredded, guts everywhere. And Apollo's like, who killed my cow? And then sees a woman sleeping on the ground and a baby covered in blood. And Apollo's like, what is going on here? This is the strangest thing I've ever seen. So he goes over to the woman and gently kicks her awake. Get up! And she's like, ah! And Maya's like, what's going on? He's like, why'd you kill my cows? And she's like, who are you? He's like, my name is Apollo. She's like, hi, how are you? He's like, keep that. He's like, why'd you kill my cow? She's like, what are you? Oh my God, there's a dead cow. And she's a giant dead cow. She's like, why? Oh my God, my baby's covered in blood. He's like, why did you cover your baby in blood? And they start yelling back and forth at each other. Well, them yelling at each other wakes up little Hermes. He's like, oh, mommy, yelly, yeah, bored. And he starts wandering around the cave because that ADHD thing. As he does, he ends up finding an old turtle shell that was like crammed into the corner of a cave from a turtle that died. Picks it up, wandering around, listening to them yelling at each other. He's like, dunk, 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 and then goes over to the big pile of guts, like kicking with his foot. And he's like, dunk, 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 kick the guts, dunk, dunk, kick that, ooh, and has an idea. Pulls out his little baby knife, wink, and starts stabbing the turtle shell around the edges, putting little holes in it. And then reaches down in the pile of guts, pulls out one of the intestines, and then strings it back and forth across the turtle shell. And then pulls it tight and ties it off. And then as he's sitting there listening to the arguing, starts strumming the little gut strings. Bling, bing, 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 bing. Well, Apollo, in the middle of yelling at Maya, hears this. He was like, what kind of crazy woman would kill a cow and then smear, hey kid, what you doing? And he's like, bing, 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 just playing with this new thing I made. And Apollo immediately realizes this would be great for macking on ladies. He was like, ooh, I could use that and play music, and the ladies would dig it. Hey kid, how about you give me that thing? How do you feel about that? Hermes, though, is not a dummy. He was like, bing, 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 bing. What are you going to give me? And Apollo's like, I don't know, kid. What do you want? Like a sucker or something? And Hermes is like, no. Ooh, I heard you yelling at my mom about a bunch of sacred cows. And Apollo's like, yeah, someone stole them. And Hermes is like, can I have the cows? And Apollo's like, I lost the cows. Hermes goes, oh, if I can find the cows, can I keep them if I give you this shell thing? Apollo's like, all right, baby child, sure, you find my cows, you can keep them if you give me that shell. And Hermes is like, shake on it? Apollo's like, well, you're a precocious little kid. Sure, we'll shake on it. He's like, shaky, shaky, shaky. And Hermes hands over the little thing. You'll see this thing that he's carrying up here in Apollo's picture. It's this thing right here, which becomes the lyre. And there's different versions of it. There's that one. He's got another one where he's over here strumming the same thing. Over here, strumming the same thing. It shows up, that same turtle shell. It changed over time and became an actual musical instrument that he uses to mack on the women. So Hermes hands over turtle shell. And Apollo's like, bing, 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 bing. He's like, oh, chicks are in trouble now. But as soon as he does that, Hermes is like, all right, see you later. And Apollo's like, whatever, kid. Hermes runs to the back of the cave and starts bringing out these cows one by one. Moo, 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 moo. And Apollo's like, what did you... hey, what did... that is... what... and he's like, what did you... and Hermes is like, I don't know. I just found him in the back of the cave. And Apollo's like, nah, nah, and throws a chair. He just like pulls out a chair and throws it. He's like, gah! It goes up to Mount Olympus and starts raging and yelling at all the other gods about what this child did to him. The problem is, this story gets back to Zeus. And Zeus goes to confront Apollo. He was like, hey, son, I happen to hear a story. Apollo's like, I don't want to talk about it. He's like, oh, I do. So, rumor is you have a bunch of glow-in-the-dark cows. Apollo's like, I don't want to talk about it. He's like, I'll continue. And you lost these glow-in-the-dark cows. And then you found a cave with a baby and a woman and a dead cow. And Apollo's like, I'm not going to answer. And he's like, I'll keep going. And then a small baby child had a big pile of guts, and you took the pile of guts. And Apollo's like, chicks will dig it. He's like, I'm still going. And then you traded him, and little baby child got all of your magical glow-in-the-dark cows. And what did you get again? And Apollo's like, bing, 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 bing. He's like, yeah, that's what I thought. I have an empty throne, and apparently a baby that's better than you, so can you direct me to where to find it? And Apollo's like, and so he gives directions to where the cave is. So Zeus goes down to earth and is walking along. He's like, I'm going to go find this crazy baby child who's up. Why does this area look familiar? And as he sees like walking up the side of the mountain, he's like, this area looks really familiar, like I've been here recently. And he gets into the cave, and he sees Maya in there with a small teenager. And the teenager's over there with a whole bunch of cows around him. And Zeus is like, don't I know you? And Maya's like, it's me! We were together yesterday! And Zeus is like, oh, hey you. I was looking for a small baby child. And she's like, it is. This is your baby child. He's like, that's not a baby child. That's a teenager. And she's like, genetics. And he's like, oh, wow. Zeus realizes what must have happened. And he goes over to talk to Hermes and finds out how crafty Hermes is. And Hermes is a sneaky little son of a Zeus. And he goes like, hey, obviously someone like you needs to be close to me, because if not, you're going to get yourself into trouble. Would you like a throne on Mount Olympus? And he brings Hermes up to Mount Olympus. And gives him the final throne on Mount Olympus. So now Hermes becomes the last official Olympian. And because he started stealing things as soon as he was born, he became the god of thieves, which is why he has that connection. Plus, Zeus has to give him a job to burn off all this excess energy he has. So what job does he give him? And that's how he becomes the messenger god, because he's like, what do I gotta do next? I'm bored. I'm just like, hey, can you take this letter down to... Oh, you're back already. Okay. And so because of that, almost every time we see Hermes, yonder, and then over yonder, and then over yonder, he's doing the same pose. So you're going to just run in place. Or you're more than welcome to do your Heisman Trophy pose. Something along those lines. At this point, all of our thrones are filled in, because we have one spot left. But who has that throne? And she does for the next long period of time. But going into 1,000 years in the future, a couple of things I need to explain to you. One, what happened to the last race of humans?
They died.
So we're going to eventually get to the next race of humans, but that's not till next week. So we're going to have to go forward in time to get to our last throne. So our next race of humans gets created. But there's also a thing about this next race of humans. It was thought that this race of humans could not see gods in their true form. If they did, it would kill us. We could see the gods, but they basically had to shapeshift into a form that we could look at. Because if we saw a god in their true form, it was thought they were so magnificent and so amazing, we would basically turn to dust. It would vaporize us. So if Zeus were to walk and be like, hey, I'm Zeus. We'd be like, ah! And we'd all just turn into dust right in front of them. So because of that, the gods would never go into their true form. They would usually just stay into like a godly form. Even if they went like big and stepped on us, they would just go into like a big human form or just go into a small human form. Both of those things are going to play a role in this upcoming story. So now, shooting into the future. Zeus, again trying to be good, comes down to Earth one day. As he's walking around Earth doing his Zeusy things, he comes across a human girl by the name of Semele, S-E-M-E-L-E. And he realizes Semele is quite the hottie. And he was like, you know, I've been good for a long time, plus she's a human, and Hera said I can't be with titans or nymphs anymore, so I think humans perfectly fine and they're going to count. So he goes over and sees the Semele girl, like, hey, how are you? And she's like, I'm fine. He's like, who are you? He's like, I'm Zeus. I've got the beard, and watch this. Zeus! And she's like, oh my God. She's like, you're the greatest thing ever. And she was like, hey, well, I'm Zeus, and you're incredibly good looking. I think we should get together and be friendly. And she's like, okay. So they are. And they're friendly, and they date for a while, until one day, she goes and approaches Zeus when he comes to visit. She goes, Zeus, I've got good news. That good news is going to be, you've seen how this game is played. She's like, I'm pregnant. He's like, oh, hey, about that. So I have this thing called a wife, and there's every chance that she is going to try and kill you if she finds out that that baby's mine. So I think it'd be a really good idea if you didn't tell anyone that that baby belonged to me. Keep that a secret, and I think you're going to get to live. And she's like, oh, that's kind of scary. He's like, ooh, that's the right thinking. I'll come back and check on you in a few months. So Zeus then takes off to go do Zeusy things and leaves her alone. And she does really well at it for a long time. But her friends start to wear her down. Because as she starts to show and get pregnanter and pregnanter and pregnanter, and they're like, who are you dating? And she's like, no one. They're like, well, who's the baby daddy? She's like, I can't tell you. Friends are friends. They're like, come on, you can tell us. We won't tell anyone. We're the bestest of friends. Come on, giant heart. And eventually she's like, okay, fine. I'll tell you guys, but you can't tell anyone else, because if you do, I'll get in trouble. I'm like, ooh, who is it? Is it Joey? She's like, no, it's not Joey. It's Zeus. They're like, who's Zeus? Is that? She's like, no. Zeus! And they're like, oh my God, it's Zeus. She's like, yeah, Zeus is the baby daddy. He came down, he was in a human form, we were friendly, he's the father of my child. And her friend's like, oh my God, you can't keep that to yourself. That's incredible. You have to tell people. And so they wear her down and say, you're going to have to start telling other people. So she does. But she does it in the worst possible way. So the next day when people talk to her, she's like, hey, are you pregnant? She's like, I am. Like, who's the father? She's like, well, don't tell anyone. But it's Zeus. That Zeus, he's the father of the baby. but you can't tell anyone because his wife is a psycho. And they're like, oh, okay, I won't tell anyone. But then they're like, that's really cool. She's like, I know, like, he must be really special. She's like, I am really special, thank you. And so she starts getting to the point where she just tells everybody. Anyone she comes across, like, oh, nice to meet you. My name is Simile. Why, yes, I am pregnant. Why, yes, Zeus is the father, but you can't tell anyone because his wife is a crazy psycho. And so it gets to the point where as she walks through town, people are like, hey, do you know? She goes, yes, I do know. Zeus is the father, but you can't tell anyone. His wife is a psycho. And so this eventually gets all the way back up to Hera on Mount Olympus, who's just walking along, and one day she overhears two gods talking, and they're like, you believe that there's a girl down on Earth named Semele, and she's pregnant with Zeus's baby, and Hera hasn't done anything about it? That girl's losing power. That's like the worst thing ever. And apparently this girl tells everyone that Hera's a psycho, and Hera does nothing about it. And Hera's like, I'm just gonna... So Hera decides she's gonna solve this problem. But at the same time, she's tired of killing women. She's like, oh, I've killed so many women. You know how it feels. I'm tired of killing women. She's like, I can't just keep doing it. It's not solving the problem. So she decides to creatively solve this problem. So what she decides to do is she's now going to have Zeus kill the woman instead. She's going to make Zeus do it, and that way she doesn't have to. But she's going to trick Zeus into it because she knows she can't just force him into it. So she comes up with a plan. She takes the form of an old woman and shrinks herself down to human size, and then goes down to the village where Semele lives. And she goes wandering through the village, wander, till she ends up bumping into Semele. She's like, oh, lady, you looked pregnant. Who's the father? And Semele's like, oh, random old woman I've never seen before. Let me tell you, between you and me, the father is Zeus, the guy up there, but you can't tell anyone because his wife is a psycho. So that's just between you and me. And Hera's like, then she goes, oh, dear. Somebody goes, yes. She goes, how do you know that he's actually Zeus? Somebody goes, oh, well, it's pretty easy. He's got this big beard, and every once in a while he strikes this pose, and he's like, I'm Zeus, and it's really impressive. And Hera goes, oh, so for all you know, it's just some random guy who claims to be Zeus. Has he, like, proven that he's Zeus? And somebody's like, well, I mean, how's he going to prove that he's Zeus? There's, like, no way to actually do that. So I take him at his word. Hera goes, there is a way for him to prove. It's just a little known way. Somebody goes, it is? What is it? Hera goes, well, this happened to my cousin's best friend's boyfriend. So I have it on good word that if you see a god in their true form, they have to marry you and take you back up to Mount Olympus. Somebody goes, no, you crazy old woman. If you see a god in their true form, then you die. Everyone knows that. Hera goes, have you seen a god in their true form? Somebody goes, no, I haven't. Hera goes, I know. That's because it's a secret they're keeping because they don't want you to know about the whole marriage thing, so they're spreading a lie. The next time you see this Zeus guy, you should make him prove that who he is. If not, he's probably lying to you, and it's just some random guy with a beard. And someone's like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. I think I'm going to have to do that one. So then Hera just leaves her there and is like, giggles, giggle, 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 and walks away. Semele starts thinking about it and getting angrier and angrier, realizing that it's not Zeus and it's just some random old dude. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go off on that guy the next time he shows up unless he can prove to me that he's actually Zeus. Oh, this is going to be good. Well, a few months later, she's nice and big and pregnant, and Zeus shows up. Knocks on the door. She goes and opens it. He's like, hey, baby, how are you? She's like, don't you hate baby, baby? He's like, whoa, what's going on? She's like, you're not really Zeus. He's like, yeah, I am. I've got the beard. Watch. She's like, no! Stop it. He's like, whoa, what is up with you? She's like, I don't think you're actually Zeus. I think you're just some random guy with a beard. I think you need to prove to me that you're Zeus. He's like, I can't prove to you that I'm Zeus. What do you want me to do? She's like, oh, I know how you could prove it to me. What you could do is you could show me your true form. And he's like, no, if I show you my true form, you're going... She's like, it's because I've seen your true form. Your true form is dirty old man. That's your true form. And she starts going off on him and starts yelling right into Zeus's face. He's like, whoa, settle. Whoa, what is your... And she's like, you're not going to show me your true form? I know your true form. I'm going to boot you to the curb. That's your true... He's like, fine. You want to see my true form? Done. Boom! and he goes into his true form right in front of her. And she's like, oh my God! And turns into dust. Vaporizes her right there on the spot. Problem is, the baby that was inside of her was half God. So when she goes, the baby goes onto the ground. Zeus goes, oh, snap, and looks around. No witnesses. So he quickly reaches down, grabs the baby, pulls out his dagger, and plunges the dagger into his own leg. Cuts his leg open from the hip all the way down to the kneecap. Pulls his leg open, crams the baby inside of it, wraps the leg back around it. He figures he's going to bring the baby to full term. And the best place to do that is in his leg. So for the next couple months, he raises the baby in his own leg until it's time to give birth. He knows it's time to give birth because the baby kicks. When he's walking, he's like, he's like, time to give birth. And so he gives birth to his leg baby. So he grabs his leg, common phrase, grabs his leg and squeezes it. He's like, and out pops this little leg baby. This baby born, he names Dionysus. In Greek, Dionysus means
Leg baby.
It does not mean leg baby. Tomorrow we will finish out our discussion about Dionysus.
How can you prove that it doesn't mean leg baby?